Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio and to the Spirit Society of Virginia. Kara and I are here, and we are delighted to be today talking and sharing with you about spiritual immunization. There's so much talk right now about immunization, how important it is for us to vaccinate ourselves. But we know, friends, we are immortal spirits. So, what is the most important type of immunization is that we take care of our spiritual immunization. So, welcome to the friends that we see here for our Friday inspirational talk. And let us remember, friends, this center might be close its doors physically, but we are more open than ever because now we can bring the center to our homes. So let us use these moments as we were in the physical spiritual center. You know, it is dinner time. We might be there with the family, but let us stop, let us sit down, let us truly take these moments as it is a treatment for all of us so that we can be here together, wholehearted, without trying to do many things at the same time. It's just an hour. So let us together spend this time and to start so that we can connect with one another, but most important, we can raise our vibrations. We're going to start with our initial message. And today, the message is even more important because it is the true message that we will be together breaking down in this study tonight. So, Carol is going to read to us the message titled Spiritual Immunization by Emmanuel. Right, Carol?
Right. Thank you, dear Daisy. And this message, dear friends, can be found in issue 33 of the Spiritist magazine. And in fact, I am using my own cell phone to access this magazine. This magazine is available free of charge entirely in English and within the reach of our very own fingertips. Could not be better than this. So let us begin reading the message by Emmanuel, which will be the focus of our study tonight. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. Jesus in Matthew 5:44. Emmanuel explains this Bible quote as follows. In fact, we have two classes of opponents, those who disagree with us and those others whom we have raised with our own culture of intolerance. The former is inevitable. They come from all walks of life, especially when the individual is moving forward in the trails of elevation. Neither Jesus lived or lives without them. The latter, however, are those whose appearance we can and should avoid. For this, let us enumerate some of the losses that we will certainly acquire when we create aversions in our way. Outbreaks of forceful vibrations, centers of systematic opposition, silent threats, closed doors to spontaneous contests, opinions almost always biased regarding us, unjustified suspicions, purposes of retaliation, free antipathies, preventions and sarcasm, hassles, spiritual shadows. Any of the related plots in this list of disadvantages would be enough to embitter a large range of our life, annihilating our precious opportunities or reducing our efficiency, peace, fulfillment, and joy of living. It is easy to infer that when we create opponents, we only lesion ourselves. It is also very important to know to tolerate them and to respect them whenever they arise against us. Thus, we understand that when Jesus admonished us to love our enemy, he was very far from inducing us to be an accomplice of evil, but it gave us the ideal formula of balance in the peace of immunization.
Thank you, dear Carol. Friends, let us then now together raise our thoughts so that we can welcome all the spiritual guides and friends who are joining us, who are coming to our home at this very moment to help us, to help our families, to support us. Let us remember when we pray together, we know we have our own internal petitions, but this is a time that we pray with one another. So we follow thought by thought, word by word, so that we can together raise our vibrations. We don't need to worry. Jesus, God knows exactly what we need, and they will be here with us, doing the work that needs to be done, putting the medicine that we need. So let us trust. So let us close our eyes. And let us breathe in and out. As we breathe in, we take the fresh air through our lungs, breathing peace, understanding, tolerance. Let us breathe out, friends, and let us use this exercise to release from the depths of our souls sentiments that are contrary to our balance. Let us breathe out sentiments of hatred, revenge, incomprehension, intolerance. And let us acknowledge the blessing of these moments, of this reincarnation. And let us use these moments to forget about the day-to-day tasks, the chores, to acknowledge the presence of Jesus in our lives. Dear Master Jesus, thank you so much for being our guide and model, for incarnating on earth and bringing us the good news that brings us much joy. You know, Jesus, how we are still just children, learning to crawl in the immortality of life. And there is much that we need to work on ourselves. We pray that tonight you can open our hearts so that we can get rid of the shackles that have been imprisoning us in the past, to liberate ourselves. We pray for the family members and loved ones who we still, with our intolerance, with our incomprehension, we are quick to judge. We pray for those in our lives who we ourselves create battles, sometimes without words, but through our actions, our decisions, so that we can open our hearts to form peace within ourselves and with them. Dear Master, we pray that we can extend these blessings, your loving light, to brothers and sisters who are suffering at this moment, so that we together can build a world of regeneration for all of us. We ask then that you can bless these moments together with one another, as we ask for your permission to open the study of tonight. And so be it. Dear friends, so tonight we are in this task to learn with Emmanuel how we can immunize ourselves. Spiritual immunization. As we mentioned at the beginning, at a time on earth where there is so much talk about getting the vaccine and protecting ourselves. But we know, friends, we are immortal spirits. So the most important type of immunization is that we immunize ourselves spiritually. So what are we talking about? What is Emmanuel bringing to us when he talks about spiritual immunization? Well, before we go to the message itself, let us recap, because it's good that we do this exercise of bridging in tangible things that we know in the physical plane, in the material plane, with what we know, that the connection that we can make with the spiritual realm. So we know that we have a physical body, and it's a blessed physical body. Yes, if we study ourselves, our biology, our anatomy, we'll see that we have a perfect system. We don't need to tell our lungs to breathe. It breathes on its own. We don't need to tell our stomach that now it's time to digest, because we eat and we know it's digesting. And we also have an inbuilt system, our immune system, which is so wonderful because it can recognize external agents that we are exposed that don't make a part of our own bodies. It's kind of like an alarm system. In our house, we have an alarm system. We secure the home. And then when there is a thief trying to come in, the alarm goes off. A series of reaction happens. The alarm system call the police. The police come. The same with our bodies. When we are exposed to something externally, an alarm goes off, a message is sent out to our cells. Our cells gear up, they come. And that's how we are most of the time protected from illnesses that we don't even know because our bodies they're working 24/7. But we know, as in a system, it's not perfect. No, especially when we are children, we need to boost that system to be the best that it can be. And how we can do it? Well, science in its beauty, in its innovation, brings to us a tool that helps our bodies. Because this chain of systems takes time for our body to recognize that something has happened, to produce the what we need to go there and attack that virus or that bacteria. So, what if we can give it a boost so the next time that we are exposed to the bacteria or the virus, we will be prepared. And that's when vaccines come in. Yes, vaccines serves exactly that purpose. We're talking now about the coronavirus vaccine, which is a blessing. We have spirits. We thank science for this blessing because they are able to look at the virus. Yes, they make some small modifications. They get its DNA, its RNA. So then we are exposed just a little bit. It's not the active virus. And then our body builds that system. It's ready to respond. Great. Well, why are we talking about this? You might be asking, but Deise, I'm not here for a biology lesson. No, friends. The reason we are bringing it's an analogy because Emmanuel talks about how to immunize ourselves spiritually. So, understanding how we immunize ourselves physically is the first step. So, first, we need to detect the problem. We need to understand what is the virus, what is the bacteria. We need to study it to develop the vaccine, to know where to attack. And the same thing is to protect ourselves spiritually. First, we need to know how we can be vulnerable. We need to study the problem. How can we make ourselves vulnerable spiritually? And then we can go there and talk about the immunization, the tools that we can use to protect ourselves. But it's important for us to remember that when we are talking about ourselves spiritually, how we open our doors to be more vulnerable, we need to understand something that we learned with Andrea Lewis in the book Mechanisms of Mediumship and also with Emmanuel in the book Thought and Life. That every time that we think, that we feel, that we say anything, that we act, we are vibrating beings. We are putting out this electromagnetic force in the universe. It is electric and is magnetic. Why? Because it attracts similar things. So, if we open our doors and we say beautiful words, have beautiful feelings, we will attract what we emit. Interesting. So what happens when we open ourselves to those feelings that are not great, to those thoughts about those who are not beautiful thoughts or feelings. When we come together and we gossip and we talk bad about others, well, that's the energy that we are putting out. And what do we think we'll receive? We will receive the same. We will connect. That's when, friends, there is this another level, because then we'll make those connections with those in the spiritual realm who think the same as we do. We'll dive even deeper on this. But let's go to the message, because this will help us understand what Emmanuel is telling us and is bringing to us. And this will help us understand how we can protect ourselves. In this message that we find in the book in Portuguese titled Ceifa de Luz, in English, Harvest of Light, the book is not yet published in English, but the team at Kardec Radio has done a beautiful job in translating the message, and we have here the ways we can find this message in English. Well, we can read the whole message as Carol just explained it to us in the Spiritus magazine. We can go to thespiritsmagazine.com, thespiritusmagazine.org, issue number 33, and we can read the message in English. We can print it out, we can have it with ourselves, a hard copy, and we can also, friends, listen to the study that our dear Vanessa and Anceloni did. The whole book is available to us. You can go to the playlist Harvest of Light in our YouTube channel, and you can listen to the study that she did a chapter a day, and you can also study together with us. So in the message, Emmanuel starts by explaining that we have two classes of opponents. We're talking about spiritual immunization. So before we talk about how we immunize ourselves, let us understand, what is he talking about? What is the root cause that we have to understand first? He says there's two classes of opponents as we go through our lives. There are those who disagree with us. Oh yes, I'm sure we can all relate. Yes, we are different. We have different opinions, and we will encounter those who disagree with us, that think differently. And that's okay. The problem is what we do with it. We will get there. But yes, there will be those in our lives who think different. They will disagree with us. But there are those who we have raised with our own culture of intolerance. Think about this, friends. The first class, those who disagree with us. Think about it as something externally. Though they are there, they disagree with us. That is something that comes from outside in. But the second class, those we raise with our own culture of intolerance, is something that we ourselves cultivate. It comes from within us. And why is this important? Well, the first ones who disagree with us, Emmanuel says that those are inevitable. Yes, we will encounter them. Doesn't matter what. And what is the greatest example of all to all of us is Master Jesus. If Master Jesus himself came as the governor of our planet, incarnated on earth, brought us the truth. He brought us the truth, friends. There's no space for argument. But he encountered many who disagree with him. And enough that they actually crucify him because he thought he was a revolutionary for the time. So, if Jesus encountered those, who are we to think that we're not going to encounter those who disagree with us? Yes, they will disagree, but we will move on. It's inevitable. But the problem is, friends, if we are in the second class, if we are the ones who are raising the flag, if we are the ones who are there with our culture of intolerance, incomprehension, when we don't understand others. Well, Emmanuel says that in this case, we can and we should avoid this. So there's something very, very tangible that we can do about it. And soon Carol's gonna tell us a lot how we can do it. But let us then focus on this, friends. This culture of intolerance. We can do something about this. But then we think, for Deise, I am very tolerant. I am very, very tolerant. But as soon as someone says or do something that is different to what we think, oh, yes, we will give them our 50 cents. We will be there and we will let them know. Friends, why is this important to us? If we're talking about protecting ourselves, who doesn't want protection? We all want protection. We all want this spiritual immunization that Emmanuel is talking about. But he's saying that if we are the ones who are raising this culture of intolerance, we can have high spirits around us, but we will be in such a low vibration that we will not gonna be able to perceive them or perceive their help. So if we want to be helped, it depends on us, which is great. Spiritism empower us to change ourselves, because if we change ourselves, we're gonna change our lives. So we can choose better. But how? How does this happen? Emmanuel has a great educator. He says, well, there are vulnerabilities. How we become vulnerable to this class of opponents that we can and should avoid. And he gives us a list. Remember, if we want to immunize ourselves, we first need to go there and understand the problem. So he's very practical. He gives us a list. He says, outbreaks of forceful vibrations, centers of systematic opposition, silence threats, closed doors to spontaneous contest, opinions almost always biased against us, unjustified suspicions, purpose of retaliation, free antipathies, preventions and sarcasm, hassles, and then spiritual shadows. Wow, that is a long list, Emmanuel. Thank you so much, but we need to break this down together because we could spend, friends, a whole study just going through one of those and studying and breaking this down. But tonight we want to highlight a few that are, especially right now in our society, so common. Let us start with the first one. Centers of systematic opposition. Again, we think we are so tolerant. But what is the systematic opposition? Systematic, this word, it means that it's something that is occurring always. There is a pattern to it. It is systematic. It's when we, without even knowing someone, because sometimes of their political views, sometimes because of their religion, their race, the color of their skin, their socioeconomic status. We have oppositions about them. It's when we label someone without even getting to know them. Remember, Emmanuel says, we will think differently. So, yes, that will happen. But the problem is when we ourselves go there and we enter in this culture of intolerance, of incomprehension, of judgment, without not even getting to know. All because this person, they are affiliated to this certain political party. So I don't want to, who are they? I don't want to have nothing to do with them. I don't want to talk with them. I'm not understanding and tolerant. I put a label. It's when we think that those who are in a lower socioeconomic status are less than us because of material things, right, friends? Because they don't have what we have. They don't wear the same brands of clothes. They don't have a similar car. A spiritist comes and say, let us throw this out. We are all brothers and sisters. Who are we to have the systematic oppositions? We are creating this, friends, in our society. When we look at someone who is different than us, and we're quickly to judge because of the way they dress themselves. Sometimes because their culture, the way they were raised. So, what are we teaching our children inside our homes? When we see something on TV and we are quickly to judge. We're teaching our children by example. A lot of food for thought, friends. This is not to make us feel guilty, but it is a list for us to study ourselves. it is easy for us to look at the world and say and point out the defects. But the hardest thing, friends, is for us to look inside ourselves and find the points that we need to work in ourselves. But the Spiritism comes and says, we're not going to change the world that we live in if we don't change ourselves. So if we wanted to be in a place there's more understanding, that is more tolerant, then we need to first and foremost practice this with ourselves. And it starts where, friends? It starts inside the home. And that's what brings us to our next highlight. Silence threats. Sometimes there are those who are pretty vocal at home of what they like and then they don't like. And what if you put the napkin in the wrong place or the car keys in the wrong place? Oh, it's like World War III at home, because we're not building that tolerance and understanding. But the opposite, silent threats. Emmanuel brings to us that we don't need to say anything to be in a battle with someone. We can be in a battle mentally, spiritually. Because it's not, friends, about what we say physically, is what we emit. Remember when we start this conversation talking about what we are emitting? Emmanuel says that just by thinking about it, you just say, but Deise, I'm just thinking about it. Emmanuel brings to us in the book Thought and Life this: just one thought is enough to connect ourselves. So we might not say anything to our partner, to our children, but inside we are in a battle with them. Or we give them the silent treatment. The silent treatment, friends, sometimes it hurts more than words. So the silent threats. So it's not about saying, oh, but I'm not saying anything. No, what are we emitting? What are we feeling? And that's where we need to go there. Of course, we're still learning, friends. Of course, there will be days that we'll put our heads in our pillows and we say, I could do better. But we say, tomorrow is a new day, I will start again. But the important thing, the first step, is that we recognize it. And we want to highlight one more: retaliation. It's when we want to go there and we want to take the matters to our own hands. This week, in a study in the Gospel at Home, we read a message in the book in Portuguese titled Roteiro de Jesus, Roadmap, Jesus' Roadmap. If we could kindly translate it, we don't know what would be the title in English, but it's a roadmap brought by Jesus to all of us. And in that message, a man comes to Jesus. His name is Datan. And he comes and he is perplexed. He cannot understand. How come there is so much injustice that is happening by those inside the circles of faith? He says. And he comes with papers and papers and papers and says, I can tell you, Jesus, the name. And then he goes one by one. This man, he steals from those who don't have other things. This person, well, they utilize the women and their fragility to get what they want. This person, and he goes on on the list. And do we know what was Jesus' reaction? So beautiful to read these books because Jesus is there very, very understanding. He's listening. She's not saying anything yet, but he listens and he goes on the list and he says, tell me what we need to do because I will be there. Who is that done, friends? It's all of us, right? Because we have that list in our hands. This person did this, X, Y, and Z. But that person. But what was Jesus' recommendation? At the end, he said, you know that ton? What we need to do is to learn how to love, how to serve. And he was perplexed. To love. That is it, friends. It is hard, but at the root cause is really love. Jesus didn't take the matters of his own hands to go there, talk to Caesar, and say, how come you are doing this? He had the option in front of Pontius Pilate to talk to him. He asked him himself, do something. And he didn't take matters on his own hands. So is this incomprehension, friends, that we need to work on. We could go on in this list talking about it. But the most important, friends, for us to remember is how we open the doors of our spirits. As we encounter the situations as we were talking, we make those connections and we now have these spiritual vulnerabilities. We're making ourselves vulnerable. So how can we protect ourselves? What is this immunization that Emmanuel is bringing to us? What is the answer? So our dear Carol is going to walk us through what is Emmanuel's recommendation, right, Carol?
Right, Daisy. Thank goodness for Emmanuel bringing us the vaccine we need the most. So let us begin thinking about the prescription from on high regarding the remedies we need to take, our immunization process against the culture of intolerance. As we begin reflecting upon our own spiritual treatment in more ways than one, we would like to pose a therapeutic question for all of us to reflect upon. Our therapeutic question is as follows: how much do we see ourselves in the position of victims? As our dear Daisy brought to our attention just now, Datan, in the message from the book Roadmap from Jesus, saw himself in the position of a victim. Why? Because he brought his laundry list to Jesus, wanting to do justice on his own and feeling as though he had been victimized. So, in order for us to step aside from this dynamic that makes us spiritually vulnerable, as our dear Daisy explained, our first step in our treatment tonight will be to take our victim card here and rip it. So let's do this together. It feels good to allow ourselves to change. Yay, we are done. Let's really throw it away, recycle it because it's better for the environment. Let us recycle it. Why do we propose this as an initial step in our spiritual immunization? Because Kardec himself asked, what is the one of the main purposes of embracing Spiritism as a way of life? And the spirit mentors on high respond as follows. We recognize someone who embraces Spiritism in its true nature by how much they are willing to transform themselves. So, in order for our spiritual immunization to be boosted tonight, the first step the mentors invite us to take is for us to begin knowing that we are agents of change in our own lives, that nothing that happens to us is a punishment, that we are not victims. Rather, we receive lessons as opportunities to evolve. But how is it, dear friends, that we take our current mental lens and shift perspective? We are now going to go back to Emmanuel because, of course, as an excellent educator and worker of Master Jesus on the earth, he has the answer for us to take into consideration. So Emmanuel proposes in our treatment kit, so let us imagine Master Jesus from high in the spiritual realm, handing to Emmanuel through Chico Xavier a first aid kit, immunization kit. And Emmanuel is now, through the mentors of the Spiritual Society of Virginia and Kardec Radio, handing in our own immunization aid kit. The first item that we see beautifully given to us by Master Jesus through Emmanuel and the mentors is understanding. Sounds like a big word. How do we take this concept and apply it to the heart? And Master Jesus, in a conversation reported in the book Good News through the mediumship of Chico Xavier by Humberto de Campos, tells one of the Pharisees at the time that it is not enough to know what to do. We need to feel it in order to actually transform ourselves. So how do we take this big concept of understanding and bring it to our hearts? Thankfully, Daisy and I don't have the answer. Thankfully, the answer comes directly from the Master, our number one guide and model. And we can find the answer, dear friends, in the book Jesus in the Home, psychographed by Chico Xavier, dictated by the spirit Neo Lúcio. Master Jesus masterfully teaches us how to practice and feel understanding in the message number 35 entitled The Need for Understanding. So in this message, we highly recommend that all of us read it as a boost to our spiritual immunization system. But now we are not going to read it directly, but rather we are going to summarize the technique that was uniquely taught by Master Jesus to all of us. In the technique to practice understanding, Master Jesus invited us to take our role as co-creators actively. How so? Let us picture Hollywood. Everyone knows Hollywood. Let us picture a great movie director. In our minds, we think of Steven Spielberg because ever since we were little children in this incarnation, we remember going to the movies and watching E.T. and other great movies that were directed by him and being amazed at what he could do with the camera. Just like Steven Spielberg, we can be the co-directors of our lives, of the movie of our lives. How do we know? Because we were granted free will. And as children of God, we are given the gift of co-creating our lives, the responsibility of editing our reality. Oh, what does that mean, Carol? What does that mean, Daisy? That means that we are expected, divinely expected, to choose our emotions and to choose our thoughts as Daisy has brought to us. How come? Because there are lenses that we can choose to focus our attention on, just like with the cell phone here. If we choose to take a particular picture with our fingertips, we can decide on the angle of the picture. We can decide on the focus of the picture. We can even edit the coloring of the picture, the size of the picture, and we can add filters to that picture. Master Jesus invites us to do the same with our thoughts and emotions and perspectives regarding others. How so? When I take my own mental camera, let us all visualize ourselves directing the movie of our lives, taking our own mental camera. Mine would likely be pink because I like pink, but we can all picture our camera however color and size we wish. So let us picture ourselves right now holding our camera. When we look at someone in our lives, particularly someone who may be a source of spiritual vulnerability for us, as Deise explained, let us do the exercise Master Jesus proposes, which is to look at that person from several angles. Usually, we are used to looking at what other people do from our own angle, how we feel, how it affects us, what our expectations are, our own to-do list that person should have known. This is our quote-unquote default camera angle. Master Jesus tells us that in order for us to cultivate understanding, we need to change the camera angle. No longer should we look at ourselves. Instead, Master Jesus says, take into consideration the angle of that person's family of origin. And take into consideration, please, the way that person was raised, their childhood, because we know that they are immortal spirits, and as such, they record mental images of what happens to them in their childhood, and according to their spiritual evolution, they may or may not process their childhood in a very positive manner. So Master Jesus says, please take this into consideration. Look at this angle. What other angles does Master Jesus invite us to look at? The angle of the person's current relationships. How is that person influenced? What type of pressures do they respond to on a daily basis? Third camera angle that Master Jesus asks us to look at. What type of spiritual connections may that individual cultivate? Do we know? Are they more fruitful, productive, positive connections, or not so much? Depends on their habits. If they are not as positive yet, we need to practice understanding. Fourth camera angle that Master Jesus invites us to look at. We already went to the left, now we go to the right here. What other camera angle? The angle of the person's past lives. Why do we say past lives? Because we create millennial habits as we come back and forth from earth to the spiritual realm and change positions throughout incarnation. So Master Jesus says, if we truly would like to know a person, we as directors of our own emotions and thoughts and vibrations need to operate from this multitude of angles. Once we analyze these angles and see life from those perspectives rather than just our own, then, says Master Jesus, we are ready to understand. Thank you, Master Jesus, for helping us to understand what understanding actually involves. We appreciate it. And of course, Master Jesus is the ultimate model because he constantly practiced this multitude of angles when looking at us, and he still does. This is why every day he invests in our spiritual growth by granting us more opportunities to develop morally. So now that we have seen the band-aid of understanding, and we hopefully, thanks to Master Jesus, understand what understanding involves, we are ready to add more to our spiritual immunization aid kit. So, as we practice understanding from the multitude of camera angles, Master Jesus invites us to add a filter to the movie that we are editing, the internal movie that we are editing. On the phone, we have the vivid filter. The vivid filter makes the picture look brighter and more joyful. The vivid filter of our emotions is the vitamin of tolerance. Once we understand, we are able to give the person with whom we are relating a break because we know that they have not done whatever they did to hurt us. We know now it is not personal. Let us give all of us an example. In the book Sex and Destiny by André Lewis through Chico Xavier, we see the case of Marita, who tries to take her physical life away due to a very deep emotional trauma. She then goes into a coma, and in her hospital bed, while laying down without being able to communicate externally, she communicated internally because the spirit never dies. So, though her mouth could not articulate words, her thoughts and feelings were emitting messages in a particular frequency. The law of the mental field. What did that frequency attract? Because she was holding grudges against her own sister for not understanding her sister, she attracted a quote unquote obsessor to her side. Though he was not visible to anyone through the physical eyes, he was right there alongside with Marita. And he, though discarnate, decided to take matters into his own hands and decided to avenge the sister whom he thought was guilty. Why? Because they were both only looking at their own camera angle. They did not bother to examine the many perspectives Master Jesus invites us to. In the message from the book Jesus in the Home, Master Jesus argues that understanding, looking at life from these multiple perspectives, not taking things personally, giving those whom we relate a break is essential. He says that understanding is essential, is a holy commandment, to use his own words. Now we quote, Master Jesus defines understanding as a holy commandment in chapter 35 of the book Jesus in the Home. So, why do we need tolerance, the vitamin of tolerance? Why do we need our daily intake of the vitamin of tolerance? Because if we don't take this vitamin, we will not see life through the joyful, vivid, divine filter the Master Jesus brought to earth. We will instead only see our own perspective. So, this is why we need to practice understanding constantly, because understanding makes us open towards tolerance. We stop taking things personally. So, second therapeutic question for us tonight. The first one was, how much do we blame others for events in our lives? The second one is, how much do we take things personally? From a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being no, Carol, we don't take anything personal because we know each person is their own world. 10, oh yeah, no kidding there. No matter what the number is that we assign to ourselves, tonight we are being invited by the mentors to change the angle of our inner camera so that we can stop carrying the unnecessary weight of thinking that everything is about us. It is only when we stop thinking that we are the center of the universe that we are able to then accept the vitamin of tolerance. Let us then move to the third component of our spiritual immunization aid kit. Now, Master Jesus, through Emmanuel and the mentors, are giving us the syrup of respect. Once we understand and tolerate, we are now then able to respect. How do we achieve this level? By seeking the good in the person in whom we focus our camera. We may say, oh, well, they didn't say good morning to us yesterday, but they are so friendly 99% of the time that we deeply respect them and we choose not to take this personally. In fact, we are going to go the extra mile and write them a little note wishing them a good morning so that they receive a little bit of the much they give us every day. So we have a choice in simple situations like whether someone tells us good morning or not. We have a choice. We can take it personally, be guarded, be defensive, and say, like Deise pointed out, oh, if they don't talk to us, we will not talk to them. Silent treatment. That's it. Until they talk to us no more. Or we can say, wow, this person always is so friendly. There must be something going on. Let us be of help to them. We will not wait for them to reach out. We will do the effort of reaching out to them instead because we respect them. And why is this journey from understanding tolerance and respect important for us as immortal spirits? Because we are in a journey of evolution. Kardec describes the spirit hierarchy in the Spirit's book. How are we going to get to becoming good spirits? By undergoing this scale. We start with understanding, then we go up a little step and learn to tolerate. From tolerance, we move up another notch to respect, and from there, we love. This is our ultimate goal. This is what our model has accomplished and continues to accomplish every day. So now we know what the journey looks like, thanks to Emmanuel. Let us then boost our understanding so that we can journey towards more tolerance and more respect, because that is the path that leads us to love. And speaking of love, we would like to bring to our attention a beautiful example of the first martyr of Christianism, and that is Stephen. What we are going to report to all of us right now can be found in the beautiful book Paul and Stephen by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. Stephen was actually killed by Paul. Stephen was the first Christian speaker of the House of the Way, where the apostles used to serve others, the community. The House of the Way, the Mansion of the Way, was the first quote unquote public hospital at the time, inspired solely by Master Jesus' command for us to love one another. And Stephen was received in that hospital, heard about the Master as a highly evolved spirit. He recognized the Messiah and immediately started preaching and healing in the name of the Christ. Paul, of at that time Saul of Tarsus, heard of Stephen, came to him confronted him, and literally had him stoned to death. Sad account, but with a beautiful example of divine love. How so, Carol? Because as Stephen was being stoned to death, he looked at Saul's eyes in the presence of his sister, who was Saul's fiancée at the time, and said, once this man surrenders to the proposal of the Christ, he will use the same strength, determination, and perseverance to spread the good news, to spread the good. So even though literally Stephen was being stoned to death, he did not take those stones personally. Though his physical body was deeply and mortally wounded, he was not wounded spiritually. Instead, he applied a band-aid of understanding to his heart. He took the vitamin of tolerance and also the serum of respect, because he was able to choose to believe in Saul's divine essence. Stephen entered the current of constructive mental fields. According to Andre Lewis, there are only two Wi-Fis that we can connect to, universally speaking: destructive or constructive. And unlike our cell phones, we don't have to pay for coverage. Our password is just our thoughts and feelings. Stephen chose to believe in the good of Saul. And it was because he believed in the constructive and divine essence of Saul that we have Christianism available to us today. So, final therapeutic question for us. How much are we able at this point in our life, current life, to love those who challenge us to the point of believing in their divine goodness? How much? 0. Not yet, Carol. 10. We are there. 10 is a little hard for us on earth because we are not at Master Jesus's level, but we are marching towards that pinnacle of evolution, and we have Stephen as well to inspire us. So we are being invited to love even those who we perceive as our enemies. How? Oh, Carol, the people that I don't get along with, that we don't get along with, don't even talk to us. Forget it, Carol. This is utopian. Forget it. No, dear friends, we will not forget it. We will not forget it, because we can come to a resolution in the movie of our lives, just like Stephen and Jeziel. Thank you, Saul. You're right. Stephen is Jeziel. Thank you so much, dear friend. Yes, Jeziel, Stephen did not wait for Paul to understand the proposal of the Christ. He did not wait for Paul to apologize to him. He did not wait for Paul to change. This is the beauty of it. He internally decided to already see Saul at the time, so much higher than he was, so much. He invested so much in Saul's goodness, that we are where we are. Imagine, though, dear friends, if Stephen had made the opposite decision, because he could have. He has free will just like any of us. He could have said, oh, goodness, this man is evil. This man is killing us, throwing us stones. There's no forgiveness. I can't take it. He could have done that. And he could have been in battle with Paul, even mentally. In that case, he would have been Paul's obsessor rather than Paul's guiding mentor, which he became under the request of Master Jesus. So, final question for us. Who would we like to become in the lives of those who we relate to in the name of God in accordance to God's will? Do we want to be battlers? Or do we want to be bearers of divine light and hope? This is what it means to love our enemies, dear friends. And we have to look at Master Jesus for that, right, dear Deise? Because Master Jesus is the ultimate, most beautiful, divine example to ever come to earth. So this is what it means, according to Master Jesus, to love our enemies. Love those who persecute us. Let us read the words from Master Jesus, because there's no greater master and more beautiful words than his. So he says, and we quote with much delight to our hearts, "But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you." So, do we have to wait for them to love us? Do we have to wait for them to understand? No. According to the very words of Master Jesus, we can be the peacemakers. We can be the ones to be bearers of divine light. All we need to do is to make that decision with the inner camera of our minds and hearts. So let us, dear friends, embrace this proposal that thankfully doesn't come from us, but comes from the Master himself. And with the Master in our minds and hearts, we will now ask our dear Deise to conduct our passage prayer for us, please.
Thank you, Carol. So, friends, let us then picture this beautiful image of Jesus. And let us picture ourselves there with him. Let us imagine that we are in front of Jesus at this very moment, in a beautiful garden. Let us hear the birds singing, feel the light breeze of air, and let us picture Jesus' beautiful smile. He looked at us with so much love and compassion. And he extends his arms to us. Let us then, friends, Receive the loving hug of Master Jesus. As a child who wants to find security, love in the arms of the loved ones. Master Jesus knows what we're going through. He knows that we are incomprehended ourselves, that there are those who are intolerant against us. But he also knows and trusts in our divine selves. We can make our own choices. Although not understood, we can understand. Although not tolerated, we can choose to tolerate. And although not respected, we can choose better and respect others, their opinions, their choices, because they also have free will. And we can choose to love. Dear Master Jesus, help us, Master, learn how to love one another as you taught us. Love our enemies, because it is easy to love those who love us. Love those who persecuted us, as you did, Master. And love those who don't comprehend us, who retaliate us, because we know we are no victims. Dear Master, we feel so much gratitude for Spiritism to bring these teachings to us. Thank you for allowing our dear Chico Xavier, Emmanuel, and so many others who built the pathway so we could be here today. And we ask that we tonight can offer a flower of peace, a flower of tolerance and respect to someone or a group of people in our lives who we have built this culture of intolerance ourselves. Let us make peace with them and with ourselves. Dear Master, we pray for the many brothers and sisters around the world who are still inciting violence, wars, because of this culture of intolerance. We pray that they can sooner rather than later also feel your love and build your love with their hands. And we pray for the many who are suffering in hospitals, clinics, refugee camps, shelters. We pray for those who lack the basic needs of life. And tonight, We thank you for reminding us that we can choose better. We then ask you, dear Master, for your guidance, your protection, and your permission so we can close these moments of tonight. And so be it. Dear friends, what a blessing to be here. And we want to invite our dear friends, Paloma and Luciana, who are also here with us. They were together with the children in our another channel, the Spiritual Society of Virginia's Facebook, talking about a much important topic. Isn't that right, Paloma and Luciana?
Yes, so we were talking about justice, and it seems like we understand what the word justice is, but according to Jesus, it goes much further than what we understand, human justice to be. So we invite everyone here, especially the parents with children, to go to the Spirit Society of Virginia webpage and look for the class. It was really great. And every time we have a class, we also have some exercises like homework, right, Lou?
Right, and the hard work for the family is to practice justice together, right? As they study about the balance, and as we're studying here with the immunization, we also wanted to have justice in our life in order to proceed and progress in life. So we always need to make that question: what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And how I can improve throughout my reincarnation. So the kids has learned that. They invite the whole family to partake and do the exercise. And also the talk of today was also asking us to do the same, right? To immunize ourselves, but also to be just and do to others what we want to be done to us as well.
Thank you, dear Lou. Thank you, dear Paloma. What a beautiful opportunity for us to nourish our souls no matter what age we are. Thank you so very much. And Saul Souza is right. This is awesome, right, Saul? Thank you, Erica, for being here with us. Yes, we receive many blessings from God without a doubt. Let us see if we can see other friends. Thank you, Bruce from Oregon. Many blessings. Saul Souza, always shining through. Hello, dear Narciso, and hello to everyone who may be connected to our platforms. And speaking of spreading the good, we would like to invite everyone who is in the DC, Northern Virginia area region to join the Spiritual Society of Virginia on Sunday, this Sunday at 11 a.m., right in the Spiritual Society of Virginia parking lot in person in order to study, speaking of justice as well, the book Action and Reaction by Andre Lewis through Chico Xavier. And we also kindly invite those who can join us in person to contribute to the SSVA drive on behalf of the Afghan, newly arrived Afghan refugees. They are in urgent need, dear friends, of diapers, diaper cream for rashes, and baby wipes. So these are the items that we kindly invite those who can to contribute with on behalf of these families, our brothers and sisters who are newly arrived. So we thank you already if you can join us. If you are not able to join us, we know that you will send us many beautiful thoughts and we will connect heart to heart as always. So we thank you, dear friends, for the gift of your presence. Thank you, Vera Caldas, for your presence. And yes, all Master Jesus is counting on all of us to let our light shine. And with this beautiful thought in mind, we wish you many blessings, and we already look forward to seeing you again on our next Friday inspirational talk. Thank you, dear friends, and many blessings. Bye for now.